Chased by the darkness, everyone looks the same. There is no division, no separation. Dark, the great equalizer. When you can't see the light, feel your way through the shadows. Keep searching for the light. You must go through those shadows. No human is exempt. You must be struck blind in order to truly see. Blind. 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 Struck blind in order to truly see. Blind. Blind. Struck blind. Blind. Struck blind. 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 Struck blind. Never stop letting go. In the dark, these things will grow. When it's brought into the light, shine so bright it makes you blind. 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 You will be blind. Blind. You will be blind. Blind. You will be blind.
Okay, that's that. Okay, let me get on the. Okay, here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever Shaman Patrick Show live stream. Hello, Ginger Snap. Happy anniversary. Yes, it is our wedding anniversary. And I had to hurry up and set up this live stream. I thought I didn't have everything set up, so I'm a little rushed. I have no idea what to talk about today. I have no idea what to watch. I have no idea what to do. I will show you my anniversary present that I got from my husband. Do you want to see my anniversary present? It's little ghost mugs. Little ghost mugs. And I'm very excited to have little ghost mugs. I wanted, something for the Shaman Patrick Show that was spiritual and spooky and cute. There's a standard here: spooky, cute, and functional. And Halloween is the perfect time to stock up on your spooky shamanic supplies. And I know it's still August, but they've already got the Halloween stuff out, and I'm there for it. I like to stock up. A couple years ago we got skull mugs. They're black, but they don't show up on camera very well. If you like these mugs, you can get them at Walmart, and that's where we got them. Walmart. That's where we get a lot of our stuff. So welcome to this live stream. And, I had been doing deep dives on Saturdays, but they took a lot out of me. After 3 weeks in a row doing deep dives, going into sick systems, dysfunctional systems, looking at that stuff. But here's the danger of this. Let me tell you the danger of this, because yes, I tend to get more views when I look at crazy shit. I do. And I've got like 350 subscribers left to go until I'm monetized, until this channel is monetized. So I was willing to go some places I didn't necessarily want to go to get monetized. And I do love calling out bullshit, but after, I was feeling very irritable and very weird. I kind of felt like I was getting a little psychotic because I wasn't, and it kind of made me mean and bitter. So I'm just going to take a break from looking at things that I disagree with for a while. And not to say that we won't look at anything that we disagree with today, but I'll be with you. It'll be live. It'll be a shared experience. But it was very hopeless watching Jeff and Shalea all by myself. And it was weird to do that. I'm glad I did it. It was a lot of fun. I've integrated a lot from that time, but I as a spiritual practice, watching one or two things you disagree with per day is good, but to watch I was looking for things to disagree with, and that made me feel kind of sick. I'm sure you guys can understand. So today, let's do something a little bit more fun. Something fun, easygoing, lighthearted. This is my stream as much as it is your stream. So this is going to be fun because we're going to have some audience participation. If you want, let me welcome Ginger Snap, Ascension Evolution, and Julia to the chat. And Elo, see, my eyes are bad. See, I'm a man of a certain age, and did you know that doing a live stream activate certain areas you're performing? Like, okay, I can perform, no problem. Show me a stage and we'll perform. But paying attention to a chat and making sure my hair looks good and reading, it's a lot. It really is a lot. But I'm up for the challenge, right? I would love to do more live streams. I would totally love to do more live streams. So do they have a large print edition of live streams for us older people? Elo, can I feature things on the chat? I want to. Where do y'all get that app where you can put up little chat messages? I want that. Ilomja. Congratulations, breathe, Patrick. We will hold ceremonial quantum space. So what do we do? Give me some suggestions. What should we look at? What should we talk about? I'm completely, I didn't bring anything to this today. I just brought myself. Should we have an AA meeting? How do y'all feel? Do you want it to be a support group? What do y'all want it to be like? Do y'all have your vapes? Do you have your water? Do you have your coffee? What's going on? Come on. I want some suggestions. Merrick, my husband, he's working on a wire wrap while he's watching this stream. And do you want me to tell you a spooky story, or do you want me to stick to the topic of aliens and shamanism? Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Well, the stream is titled Aliens and Ghosts and Shamanism. Okay, so aliens. What do aliens have to do with shamanism, right? That's a good question. So I suspect, this is what I suspect. My chat is not updating. It's not updating. So let me see. There we go. Live chat. There we go. Got it. So let's talk about aliens and shamanism. See, I suspect let's talk about how shamanism started. You want to talk about how shamanism started? Hello, Autumn. Ginger's on a walk. I understand that. So I didn't get all those chat messages. Let me address these. Ginger said the snark was funny, but I know it was draining. It was draining. It was draining. And it made me so irritable that I ended up making a video about mean Democrats. And I didn't act like myself in that video. I know I didn't. That wasn't me. That was probably Pain Body. That was Patrick's little Pain Body. So let's talk. So see, shamanism started thousands and thousands of years ago. and it kind of cropped up all over the planet at around the same time. It was around the same time that it was independent of borders or cultures. It was kind of the same thing that grew up all around the same time. And here's what I suspect. Y'all want to hear what I suspect? That the aliens and shamanism are interlinked, interwoven. And like while today in modern times we might have an understanding that these beings come from another planet or another dimension or something like that, but I think you want to know what I think? What my theory is? What my theory is that the aliens created, that it's an alien spirituality, that it came to Earth maybe through a meteorite or a fungus or a dimensional rift, and that's how shamanism came into our world. That it's actually an alien spirituality, like it's a knowledge spirituality. So the first shamans that were ever made were shown, essentially they were the first to see the light of God. And the word shaman itself means one who sees. Like, see, this is my one who sees. And Autumn says Anunnaki, if you want to say that. So part of this YouTube channel that I'm doing is helping you see how, or demystify shamans just a little bit. And it's not a rare thing, nor is it a thing that people can feel you don't have to get upset about it. You really don't. Let me see if I did make a presentation about this, but shamans are people who have been to hell and back. They've dealt with their ego. They also have to have a human life. And I'm demystifying that. Some people say, well, shamans don't normally have YouTube channels. And so what? So what? I don't fucking care. I don't care what other shamans do. I don't care how other shamans act. This is about the type of shamanism that I do, concrete shamanism. And there are forms of digital shamanism. I mean, how are we supposed to do this? How are we supposed to do this? If you're a shaman today, how are you supposed to do this stuff? There's no role for a shaman in America, they say. So I was like, well, how is there ever going to be a role for a shaman in this culture unless we make it? Right? Because I think it was like so weird for me to be initiated as a shaman and not be able to be one. Why would y'all do that? Why would the spirits do that? Isn't that wild? Why would the spirits do that? That never made sense to me. That's why I was having such a hard time integrating into the structure that was already here, like the spiritual structure or the core shamanism from that Sandra Ingerman. If you go to shamanism.org, I don't belong there. I don't belong at shamanism.org. They basically told me that I didn't belong. Can you imagine that? Shamans not belonging to it's so crazy. So I basically have just spent the past 10 years working on my own thing, because the funny thing is when you get rejected from stuff like that, it was very good for me because I had no preconceived notions. I mean, all I did was like, well, I'm initiated as a shaman. That's what's going on with me. I'm ticking all the boxes. So what do I do now? Can I get an elder, please? Ilomja. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Ilomja? Patrick, you don't understand. You're right. I don't understand. I'm obviously missing something. But to me, shamanism was always wild and free. And I didn't understand how there could be such rigid rules and hierarchies in shaman. That was weird to me. Like, I could understand in the Catholic Church, and I also understood that you can't just decide to be a shaman. Sometimes you can get accepted into a lineage. Hello, Ricky. Hello. Sometimes you can get accepted into a lineage. But for me, I was like, what am I going to do? How do I operate? This is the shamanic crisis in America for those who are awakening to the fact that they're a shaman. Like, you're going to feel homeless. You're going to feel homeless for a while. But the spirits are probably going to force you to do your own thing. Autumn Thrasher says lack of knowledge is a big reason. Old ways have been forgotten. When I tell people I practice shamanic Reiki, they look at me with pure emptiness in their eyes. They have no idea what I'm saying. That's right. I went to a hospital in Chicago. They asked me what my religion was, and I said shamanism. And they looked at me, what? What? And I'm like, is that not an option? They had to write it in. And I think, and here's something. I love shamanism. I want to let everybody know about shamanism. It's your birthright to know about shamanism. And I just couldn't believe, like, I've done a lot to just promote shamanism. I've done a lot to promote it. And I couldn't understand why, I was willing to learn from these people. I was willing to be wrong about it. This is the thing that is really curious, Autumn. You might find this curious, but I tried to find some sort of way to learn, but also I wasn't gonna follow their weird ideas about how you shouldn't call yourself a shaman and that there's no way for you to be a shaman in modern times. I was like, that is really wackadoodle to me. And it never really made any much sense, because from what I understood, shamans are made where they're needed. And obviously, if there were shamans popping up in America, obviously they're needed, right? I mean, wouldn't you draw the same conclusion that shamans were needed? I mean, it's kind of like if you get a wound on your arm and you get and blood starts coagulating around that wound, that's good. You want shamans to be born. So you had, on the one hand, this is the insanity, because on the one hand you had people bitching and complaining about how unconscious the world was, and then you had people saying, "Hey, I'm a shaman. I'm being bred by the spirits to help deal with the unconsciousness in the world." No, shut up. You can't be a shaman. No, shut up. Not you. No. That was my experience in it. And I know that a lot of people who were, especially on the Facebook shamanism group, there was a lot of blocking and banning there. It was crazy. Like, you couldn't, it's why all the rules? I think that there might have been some government intervention in all of that. And there's a reason why, because it has to do with the ego. Autumn says, I was taught to never call myself a shaman. I wasn't born into it and don't deserve the title. That's ego, honey. That's ego. That's ego. Because the title doesn't fucking matter. And besides, if you call yourself a shaman, the spirits are going to sort it out. And I think that maybe, okay, I'm gonna preface this. If anybody has any different opinions on this, please let me know. But I think that kind of shit applies in a shamanic culture. I think that kind of shit applies in a shamanic culture. Otherwise, you would just have tribes people calling themselves shaman. No. In a set shamanic culture, that makes sense. That you have to earn that title. But as it is in America, it's not accurate to our culture. We're not a shamanic culture. And how many years does it take for shamanism to emerge in a culture? How old is America? Because you gotta have a culture. So I'm theorizing a lot here, and I'm also basing it on my experience. So how old was America? How old is America? 300 years, give or take. And so how long does it take for shamanism to develop in a culture? Maybe 300 years. So the fact that there's shamans popping off right now, I don't know if America could even be a shamanic culture, but it seems like shamans are being born anyway. So if a shaman is born in a culture, and I'm not asking people to roll out the red carpet. No, that's not it either. You do not have to believe I'm a shaman at all. In fact, if you don't believe I'm a shaman, that would be better. Kelly says this culture is literally anti-shamanic. You're right. So most of our burgeoning shamans are in mental hospitals. I mean, I've been in lots of psych wards. Most people who are in psych wards are going through a spiritual awakening. They're not mentally ill. So I know this to be true. And you know this shamanic view of mental illness. So Autumn says there was shamanism before there was America. Now there isn't. Yeah, but I'm talking about the culture. So American culture is here now. And how I think that there is, I'm just theorizing here. Like, I think a culture has to be around for a while for shamanism to emerge, like a cohesive spiritual framework. Because America is a country like no other. Think about this. America is a country that is a culture of other cultures. It's a blended culture. And Autumn says they took away the rites of practice from our indigenous. I'm going to say, I don't think they took away the rites of practice from, you still have the right to your own religion. What happened was, it was Christianity and Christian worldviews. And I wasn't there, but I know it wasn't as like, okay, so there's a romantic notion. Whenever people use the word indigenous, there might be this romantic notion that it was just these peaceful, peace-loving people who were just minding their own business. And what we miss out on is that they might have been cannibals. That the people who were the people who were claiming this land, like, let's say people came over in ships, and they might not have even known there were people living in these places, and what all that meant. So I'm going to say it, there's a temptation to view that time in history as if Americans invaded and raped and pillaged and stole this land from the native peoples. But there's a temptation to romanticize that. And I wasn't there. But I also know that there's a higher order at play, and that whatever happened led to where we are now. And there were some Native American spirituality is not necessarily shamanism. And I went to some lodges while I was in Chicago, and it's not exactly that. And I know shamanism is a big, wide description anyway. It's a huge description. It's like no one shamanism looks the same, but there are some core things. Kelly says, I love nice things, but I know there's more to life than manifesting nice shit. Spiritual materialism for the fail. Yeah, I can feel that there. But shamanism, let's go back. I want to go back to the beginning of shamanism to talk about these aliens. Oh, wait, would you define a shaman this way? A shaman enters an altered state of consciousness to communicate with spirits in other realms. Yes, Ricky, I would describe that, but at the same time, I don't really have to enter an altered state of consciousness to communicate with spirits in other realms, but you can. And Autumn says, I've learned a lot from the native culture out here. The government forbid them to practice dance and even took their children and forced them into schools where they were taught to be American. Okay, well, there you go. And I said I wasn't there. I wasn't there. But also, I know that resentments, grievances, and all that kind of stuff. I've talked to Native Americans that have a different, view. They don't feel like it happened and it's over, and what do we do now? Ascension Evolution says, we are relearning what shamanism means in today's society. I don't believe we can compare it to shamans of the past. Could we all not be shamans if we awaken to ourselves, strip back the bullshit? Absolutely. And now Merrick remembers this. We were in Chicago and Ashtar came for a visit. Remember Ashtar, honey? And Ashtar turned to me and said, Patrick, what you went through, nobody will ever have to go through what you went through again. And I've heard Shaman Durek talk about this as well. Do you guys know Shaman Durek? Shaman Durek said that now there's been a change, that you don't have to be a shaman to practice shamanism. You don't. And there's been a change, okay? So it used to be that you had to work with a shaman to practice shamanism. Now everybody can practice shamanism. So I don't know exactly what that means. I've heard Shaman Durek talk about it. Ashtar told me about it, and I'm definitely going to talk about that more later when I have more information. But you don't have to go through the Hellraiser process of becoming a shaman to practice shamanism, and I think it has to do with the internet. A lot has to do with the internet, because you can learn the techniques that shamans do. And I know Shaman Durek teaches people. He wrote a book called Spirit Hacking. And Merrick and I wrote a book called The Machinations of Ego, where we basically teach people how to notice all of those machinations. Let me bring something up for you guys, because I think this is going to be interesting for you. Let me do this. I got to do this. I made a presentation for today, and I was going to make a video about it, but I think since we're talking about this, I think this would be a good thing to do. Let me format it real quick. Page. I got to make it black. All right. And one moment, please. We appreciate your patience. This is about shamans and ego. There we go. I downloaded it. There we go, y'all. How am I doing on this first stream? Is it entertaining? Are y'all entertained? Ascension Evolution says, oh wait, Elo, I need that. I want to be able to put your chats on the screen, but I don't know how to do that. I might need a widget. Okay, so call me silly, I guess. Siberian shamanism is an extremely ancient tradition with evidence suggesting origins at least 10,000 years ago and potentially even earlier, possibly dating back to the Stone Age. Yeah, it's old. It's old stuff. It's really old stuff. Let me pull up this presentation for you guys. Let me see. Look. Before I pull this up, I want to talk about aliens. Yeah, chats are on screen. Yeah, I set this up. Also, if people join, if they subscribe and send a super chat, it should show up. Hey, honey, my husband, can you send a super chat? Like, you don't have to send a super chat and see if it works. Would you? You don't have to I mean, don't break the bank, honey, but let's see if that works. I want to see if that works. So we're talking about aliens, and so here's what I think happened. I think that aliens interacted with early humans, and when high dimensional beings interacted with humans, it set off a chain reaction, and just by interacting with us, early humans, it created this way of intelligence or spirituality for entering the culture. Because I love my cat, but my cat is not very spiritual. Cheddar is not very spiritual at all. He doesn't pray. He doesn't, but he's a cat. He doesn't have to. But, you know, when we were also given the ego, and I think the ego was necessary for us to evolve. And then now the ego is no longer necessary. It's just no longer, you don't need it anymore. You don't need an ego. Oh, wait, I can test them out. Yes, thank you. That's cute. Thank you.
Raps donated $2 through Super Chat. Hey, smiley face emoji.
Okay, good. Thank you, honey. Thank you. All right, so, oh, wait. Oh, thank you, Autumn.
Autumn Thrasher donated $5 through Super Chat.
Oh, wow, that is so cute. Thank you. Thank you, Autumn. So I think aliens are, and I think that they might be the spirits. Some of the spirits that we talk about. Some of the spirits that we talk about are aliens. Not all of them, but some of the advanced sort of spirit guides. I think aliens are a huge part of shamanism. Even if back then, like 10,000 years ago, they just didn't have the words for it, but we have the words for it now. Do you know what I mean? We have the words for it. But I want to, let's talk about this because, you know, Autumn said something about, let me see if I can go back to this chat. I was taught to never call myself a shaman. I was taught to never call myself a shaman. I wasn't born into it and don't deserve the title. But the title has to do with ego. So let's talk about shamans and ego. Do y'all want to talk about shamans and ego? I think this is a good presentation. A shaman is the ego's worst nightmare because they do what the ego cannot tolerate. Expose lies, dissolve illusions, and strip away identities. The ego thrives on control, image, and stories. A shaman thrives on truth, surrender, and the direct encounter with reality. And here's why that makes them the ultimate threat. So this is shamans are hell on an ego. They're murder on an ego. And let me see. They're murder on an ego. And it's because I was walking through Walmart this morning with my husband, and I was just thinking about how weird it is to be conscious in an unconscious world, because we were in Walmart, we were laughing, we were looking at the toys, other people were there and they looked pained, they looked sad, they looked distraught, and it was just, and they were looking at us like, they were looking at us, but they were trying not to look at us. Yeah, you know, have you ever seen that? Like, we were having so much fun there at 6 a.m. at Walmart. It was so much fun. But I do want to talk about the shamans and the ego for a little bit. I'm going to go for a couple hours. I'm going to stream for a couple hours. So if you got nothing else to do today, I might have to take a bathroom break at some point. But I think this is a perfect topic for this, okay? So the ego survives on stories. Shamans burn stories. The ego is a master storyteller. It whispers, this is who you are. This is why you're special. This is why you're a victim. This is why you're better or worse than everyone else. A shaman doesn't buy into the plot. They cut through the narrative with a laugh, a vision, or a ritual that makes you realize the story was smoke the whole time. Once you stop believing your own story, the ego starts gasping like a fish out of water. So when so what does it so what does it even matter? What does it even matter? Because if somebody comes at me telling a story about themselves, about why they're special, or why they're a victim, or why they're better or worse than anyone else, a shaman doesn't buy into it. So why would, and if any of you want to comment on this in the chat, please do so. Why would you care if someone was a shaman or not? Would you be, because why does it bother you when people call themselves a priest? Kelly says, one of my most profound shamrock practice was walking through Walmart during plague lockdown with no mask, emanating sovereignty and joy. Ooh, I bet I bet people were coming apart, Kelly. I bet people were just coming apart. I know that. I didn't wear a mask because I had COPD. And I couldn't wear a mask. And people would look at me. And then I would say I have COPD. They didn't care. I said, if I put a mask on, I will pass out and possibly die. They didn't care. They just didn't care. Put on the mask. Put on the damn mask. But I think shamanic practice is a good shamrock practice as well. But let's think about this, because a shaman, think about this, a shaman who has become a shaman through God and training by spirits, a shaman makes the ego confront that it's ultimately powerless. Can y'all pick up what I'm putting down there? Like, a shaman is very confrontational to the ego. Ascension Evolution says, if they told me they were a shaman, I would just want to know what that meant for them. That's asking some questions. What was your training like? Where did you train? What classes did you take? I said in a video earlier this week that out in the real world, I get very few questions about it. And I think that the ego has a huge role in it. The ego has enormous role in it. Hello, Natalie. Hello, Saruvo. Good to see you guys. So glad that you were here. But I think the ego has a huge role in it. And I think that that's how, and I think that's what it is, because if someone's ego is really strong, a shaman is gonna freak them out. Saruvo says, actually 2020 removed the mask from many people. Absolutely. I saw a bunch of masks slip. Little part-time communists and Marxist revolutionaries. No, ma'am. So if you're just joining us, we're talking about ghosts and aliens and shamanism. We're taking a little detour into shamans and ego, which I think is gonna be informing. I think you're gonna like this little presentation I got. So the ego wants comfort. Shamans initiate trials. The ego says, stay safe and avoid discomfort. Keep the mask polished. The shaman says, step into the fire, go without food, face death, talk to the spirits that scare you. These trials annihilate the ego's comfort zone. The ego cannot survive real initiatory crisis because crisis demands surrender, and surrender is the one thing the ego will never volunteer. Whoa. Thank you, Autumn. Welcome. Now, Autumn, honey, you're our 20th member, so we get to add a new emoji to the mix. So, and the new emoji is going to be a Ouija board planchet. The new emoji is a Ouija board planchet. So I'll get that uploaded. But thank you, Autumn. Mwah. I can't believe we have 20 members on the Shaman Patrick Show. That's amazing. Thank you guys so very much. But so let's continue to talk about this. So the ego wants comfort, and the shamans initiate trial, and the shamans put the ego through it. So I think, here's what I'm thinking. I think that the shamans are here in America to help with the ego dissolution process, or the ego disidentification process. Because how else is it going to happen? You know, we wrote that book, The Machinations of Ego. It's Natalie's fault. Hey, everybody, Natalie Rose in the chat, it's her fault, because we were in the midst of writing the book, and we had this, we're like, we're going to put it up for pre-order. And we were going, ooh, I don't know if we can finish this book. And then Natalie pre-ordered it. So we had to finish the book. I don't recommend opening things up for pre-order until you have actually finished the book. I don't recommend that, but in our case, it actually worked. So, but you know, there's been just under 100 copies of that book sold, many of those ebooks. But now imagine if that book helps those 100 people disentangle themselves from the ego. What the fuck? That's amazing. Do you realize that? Do you realize the implications of one person waking up to the machinations of the ego? And because one person in alignment is more powerful than a million who are not. And so if 100 people wake up to the machinations of the ego, that's worth 100 million people. That's 100 million people. You see how the implications of all this? So the ego wants this comfort, you know? Kelly says that's the shamanic way, cart before the horse. I know, right? I know. I wish it was another way sometimes, because Merrick and I were sweating bullets. We went to Starbucks to finish the book, and it was like we could, all that, you would not believe some of the stuff that happened to us in the midst of finishing that book. Electrical outages, floods. Natalie, would you mind if I teach from that book on my channel? No, not at all. Teach from it. Teach from it. I mean, it's y'all's book now. We wrote it. Y'all can do what you want with it. Lisa says, I'm still trying to figure out how to become a member. Maybe I got to do it on a computer. I think you just hit like if you go into the chat, you have to hit the $sign on the chat. Like there's a little $sign. And then you click that, and then you can join. And there's a members only video out right now. It was a video that I made that I thought was a little too angry. So if there's a members only video, it's because I think that y'all are my people. Y'all are going to know that sometimes I'm angry or upset or something like that. And I just want the members to see it. So every now and then I'm going to have so there's been episodes that I've made, and there's some value in it, but sometimes I think that I missed the mark on some things. So those are going to be members only videos. You don't have to watch them or not, but if there's a members only video, I know there's some value in it, but it's probably not for public consumption. There might be some rough and raw things in there that I don't want on the public algorithm. So the ego, when here I'm talking about building a fence. Look at this shit. My own presentation is calling me out. Look at this. Look at this. The ego loves separation. The shamans collapse the wall. How about this? If I see I don't want to interrupt the flow of the episodes, the premiere episodes. So if I see an episode, I don't fucking care. The ego builds fences, me versus you, us versus them, human versus spirit. A shaman slips right through those fences and starts conversing with ancestors, animals, gods, and demons as if they were neighbors. The ego hates this because its entire existence depends on separation being real. When the shaman shows you that the boundaries are permeable, the ego loses its monopoly. Yeah. The ego, separation being real. When the shaman shows you that the boundaries are permeable, the ego loses its monopoly. Because the ego loves separation and division. And so shamans just collapse the wall. So the ego thinks that the 3D reality is the only reality. There's nothing more to know. There's nothing more to know. It's just the reality. All right, so let me get through this. The ego wants permanence. Shamans deal in death. Ego pretends it will live forever. It clings to identity like it's eternal. Shamans are professional death walkers. They rehearse dying, guide others through symbolic death, and sit with actual death without flinching. Every shamanic journey is a little ego funeral. The more you die before you die, the weaker the ego's grip becomes. Hey, let's do this might sound a little culty, but are any of you out there, are any of you out there afraid to die? Are you afraid to die? I'm not afraid to die. Because I've already died. Shamans have already died. And you know what? It feels like going to sleep. Not that I want to die, not that I want people to die, but I used to avoid doing things, or I would be afraid I would die. Whenever that fear of death comes up, it's ego. Each and every time. Each and every time it's ego. But if any of you out there are still afraid to die, that's ego. And of course you don't do anything risky. You don't drink bleach or anything like that. But if you're still afraid to die, that's an indication that there's more work to do. Hello, Alma. Autumn says, no, I'd rather not, but if it happens, it happens. Yeah, I don't want my husband to die. I mean, I don't know what I would do if my husband died. I'd be really upset. Elizabeth said, just the possible pain, not the afterwards. Well, here's the thing about pain and death. It's when you're about to die, the ego leaves. And so all sorts of pain and ego, all the sorts of pain and suffering come from the ego. So if you're about to die, the ego leaves and you don't feel pain. You don't. I mean, when my mother was dying, like the last time I saw my mother alive, she wasn't even really in her body. Like there was like some placeholder spirit. It wasn't even her. But Merrick put a selenite crystal in her hand, and she could. Then my mother came into her body, and I got to talk to her. But mostly, if people are dying or there's a placeholder spirit, they've already passed. And I know that because I saw that with my mother. And then spirits told me that's what happened. So if somebody is like in a hospital bed, if they've got a protracted illness, because the ego has taken them over completely. If somebody is just in a, if they have taken ill and they're just laying in bed all the time, it's just the ego. They're not even in the body anymore. Does that make sense to y'all? Like they're not even there. So you don't have to necessarily feel bad that like, it doesn't mean that you're like, you don't care, but at the same time, you don't have to worry about it. You know, that when the ego takes somebody over completely, they're not even in the body. Does that make sense? Kelly says, I'm a death doula, unofficially always around death inadvertently. Yeah. Maybe, there's some shamans that work in hospice. I've known of a couple shamans who've worked in hospice. I love to help people. I love to help ease people's fears around death. And, I've offered to help people get, especially people with terminal illness. I've offered to help people come to terms with it. But again, that ego their ego really does prevent shamans from doing their job. But see, here's another thing. The ego hates being laughed at. Nothing wounds the ego like mockery. Shamans often carry a trickster spirit. They poke, prank, and laugh at seriousness until the sacred and the ridiculousness collapse into one. The ego wants reverence. The shaman snorts and says, "You believe that?" That laughter breaks the spell. It breaks the spell. And I think I got the summary. The ego is a bureaucrat of the soul, shuffling papers, enforcing rules, keeping you trapped in the office of false identity. The shaman is the arsonist who walks in, sets the filing cabinet on fire, and drags you into the wilderness where real life begins. So I know that shamans and the ego, I have a rough the ego has a rough time around shamans. Let me put it that way. Ricky says, the other day when sending love to Gaia, things turned black and a snake attacked me. First time that happened. Anyone else experience this here of late? Man, that sounds shamanic as fuck. That sounds super shamanic. Super shamanic. Well, I can't believe I've already gone for an hour. It's already been an hour. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? I don't believe it. Let me see. I'm going to take a pee break. And we're going to watch. I won't be gone very long. But while I'm gone, I'm going to play a track from our album Shadows. All right, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm coming back now. I didn't want to interrupt that song because that song goes really hard. We really loved that song. That was from the last album that we made. And I'm going to promote our CD. Hey, we'll never have sponsors on the Shaman Patrick Show. And this is why, because Merrick and I set it up to be a self-sustaining stream so that we'll never have external sponsors. Kind of like Disney, but shamanic. So this is our CD, Shadows. And it's, you can't see it, but it's got a 3D cover and it comes with 3D glasses. And of course, we don't have this for sale on our shop. We don't have it for sale. Maybe I'll put it up there, but I think we're getting out of the streaming game and just doing CDs. So let me talk now about my favorite tea. My favorite tea is Constant Comment. Let me tell you about this tea. This is a special blend, and it is orange and spices, but I love this tea. And the reason it's called Constant Comment is because Mrs. Bigelow, Bigelow's wife, she came up with this blend, and whenever she would serve it at her little functions, they couldn't stop talking about it. They just kept commenting on it. And that's why it's called Constant Comment. And of course, this is the decaffeinated kind because I'm on semen retention and I don't need as much caffeine as I used to. So this is the other cup. So this is the coffee cup. See, they're a little different. These little ghosts are a little different. This one is smiling a little bit more than this one. So I love this. So y'all are talking about snake attacks. Natalie said, I've had a snake attack when I was trying to control the situation. Probably a reminder to surrender and look into the shadow. So Ricky says, I'm drinking. Admit, do you like Constant Comment? I love Constant Comment. What a crazy good tea. What a crazy good tea. Good stuff. So for those of you who weren't here at the beginning, this was my anniversary gift, a set of ghost cups, which are good for me. I wanted something spiritual for the Shaman Patrick Show, but not cheesy spiritual. Do you know what I mean? I'm kind of getting away from that stuff. And just really leaning into grounded spirituality, like the kind, I used to, the kind of spirituality where you say, shut the fuck up, ego, shut the fuck up, ego. I don't have time for this shit today, ego. Where you just say it, or, some people, spiritual people say you shouldn't curse. I might get to the point where I'm like, I don't want to curse anymore. But for right now, I'm like, fuck this shit. Fuck this ego shit. Fuck it. I'm tired of it. So let's watch something. What do you want to watch? What do y'all want to watch for the next hour? What can we do for the next hour? Do y'all want to watch something? What do y'all want to watch together? The thing is, it can't have music in it. It's got to be talky. It could be something that we disagree with, but y'all give me some suggestions. What could we watch together as a squad? What could we watch as a squad? So Saruvo, I want to go back up to this. Saruvo says, so full on narcissists are dead, actually. Yeah. Narcissists or non-spiritually aligned people, they're just taken over by spirits. And you'll notice, like, here, let me talk about that, because when I was, I kind of went through this gauntlet of people, and, so different people would say the same thing to me, almost as if it was like the same spirit speaking through these people. They would say similar things. Like, one of the things that it would say is, you're a narcissist. Just like that, like, you're a narcissist. And obviously that's not true. That's not true. Have any of you ever have you ever thought that you were a narcissist? That's part of the game. A narcissist never would think that. They would never question that. They don't have the mental capacity, because the ego is stupid. The ego is dumb. The ego is so dumb. And someone who is taken over by ego consciousness is stupid, very stupid. And I have no qualms, and I have no guilt in saying that. The dumbest person, but like, somebody can be smart, somebody can even have gone to college, but they'll still do things that create suffering in their life and in the lives of others. And that's delusional. That's when we say that people are delusional, they're creating suffering in their life and in the lives of others. Suffering in their lives and in the lives of others. And I had to come to Jesus. You guys know that I've been talking about family shit for so long. I have had to come to Jesus about this. And here's where I had to come to Jesus. It's not like, it comes from one person. One person. It's like nobody's fault except for this one person. And I suspect this in every dysfunctional family. It comes from one fucking person. And the reason that it appears to come from all these different people is because all of those people are being manipulated, flying monkeys, all that stuff. So I had to come to Jesus about this morning, where I cannot blame anybody anymore. I can't blame any single member of the family, my family or Merrick's family. I can't blame them anymore, because I just had this kind of realization that it comes from one person. And you may never know who that one person is. You may never know, but it comes from one person who is manipulating everybody. And so you don't know who it comes from. You don't know who it is. You'll always wonder. It's probably not the person that you think it is either. You'll never know, because there's a smoke screen. You'll just never know. Ascension Evolution says, I got called a narcissist for calling someone out, and I had to go research what it was. It wasn't even in my reality. However, I had to go there to actually see if I was. Kelly says the Devo documentary is so good. Does it have music in it? If it has music in it, I can't look at it if it has music in it. I've been watching a lot of stuff I disagree with, and I'm looking at my YouTube feed right now, and it's just all this stuff that I disagree with. There's the story from CNN. There's something from Roseanne Barr, a story about vampires. That would be it. Let's do that. Do y'all want to watch something from Roseanne about vampires? Getting ready for Halloween. It's like in horror movies, the killer is the last one you'd expect to be. Absolutely. I mean, in Merrick's family, I suspect that it's her mother. I mean, his mother. I suspect, but I don't know. In my family, I suspect it's my father, but it could be my aunt. You'll just never know. You'll never know. You'll never ever know. Because if they've done a really good job, they've manipulated everybody, so you'll never ever know. Never know. So I can't talk about family shit anymore, because when I realized that, it was kind of like, oh, I'm punishing I'm punishing people, and it's not even their fault. Y'all follow me on that? Like, I'm punishing people. I'm calling people out for things that they're being manipulated into doing. Y'all feel me there? Y'all feel me? And I'm probably gonna make an episode about this, apologizing for it all. I do feel like I need to apologize for it all because I have been talking shit about people who didn't deserve it. You see what I mean? Kelly says, I have to go. I'll catch the rest later. Thank you all. Have a blessed day. Thank you, Kelly, for being a member. Mwah. Thank you. But do y'all feel me on that? Like, I've been trying to hold people accountable for things, and they don't even know that they're doing it. They don't even know they're doing it. Well, let's watch this Roseanne Barr thing. Look, this is a story about vampires for my fans. Now, Roseanne Barr is a crone. She's a crone, and she's been talking stuff. So let's just see. Let's just try this out. If I do a stream and I haven't seen anything before, let's just try this out and we'll watch it together. We'll see what Roseanne has to say. It could be interesting. I know that some of the things that Roseanne Barr has been saying have been provocative lately. She's talking a lot about the fact that Hollywood is over. We'll see. Let's just see if it doesn't work out, we'll stop watching it. But let's just see what she says. All right.
Hello, everybody. You know, I've been sitting here since I got fired thinking about how am I going to make some money? Because I support a lot of family people, and I'm like, hey, I don't want to be dipping into my savings. I'm 66. And, God forbid I could die or get sick, God forbid. Because that's when they really start fleecing you. The Affordable Care Act, that's when it really starts fleecing you, is when you're my age and then you're on the government health care system.
I think she has entered crone status. She's entered crone status. And I think that she has a lot of wisdom, because when they fired her, when they canceled her, she was supporting a lot of people in her family. And I never really thought of that before. Like when we want people to get canceled, or when people are trying to fire other people, they're hurting their families when they try to debank people. Have you heard of that, when they're debanking people? I never really thought about that angle of it, that she was supporting people. Let's hear what else she got to say.
Medicaid. This whole fucking war happening in our country is over Medicaid monies. And I mean, American people, they're jumping right off the fucking lemming cliff like the dumb fucks I always dreaded they might be. They just, I mean, of course I don't mean all. I'm just talking about a specific kind of, chronic masturbator.
This was 6 years ago. I didn't know it was 6 years ago. So we'll watch something else. I thought it was current. I was thinking, like, this doesn't sound current. So she's a lot different now. But I will say that Medicaid, and Medicaid is Medicaid for all is Medicare for all. So let me see if I can find something new from her. What can we talk about that's... What she talked about... I don't know. That seems pretty divisive. What do y'all want to do? Help me out here. Help me out. Someone help me out. Medicaid is guaranteed health care for all. Let me see if I can approve that link. So Medicaid is for poor. It's for poor people. I can't. Usually, it would let me approve a message. Medicaid is when it's what poor people get. Like if you are if you can't afford medical care, Medicaid will pay it. And so Medicaid is a way to defraud the government. Like there's a lot of fraud in when they say healthcare for all, Medicare for all, or Medicaid for all, what they mean is fraud. They want fraud. That's what they want. I don't know. Let's watch something spiritual. Natalie says the Medicare issue is driving immense fear in the elderly, making them more sick. He claims to be a channel. I have my ideas, but try to. Lisa, what did you say? What did you say? There's one guy that channels Metatron, and I like him. Medicaid is socialized healthcare for low income. But I know. Here's what I know. For this is. Ricky says, wondering if Merrick is a shaman or just one in the house at a time. Merrick is training to become a shaman. He is in training, and he is having a hard time coming to terms or grips with it. He's having a hard time coming to terms with it because it is hard to come to terms with. Oh shit. Ryan Railsbeck. I think for the next live stream I do, I'll have some things for us to watch. Ryan Railsbeck. Is it this guy here? Is it this guy here? I think he changes his name. I'm blocked, but it's Rael or Raels, something like that. Is this gonna be some bullshit that you're talking about? I mean, he's got less than 1,000 subscribers, and I don't necessarily want to call anybody out who's not, established. Does that make sense? Like I don't want to because I know that there's a process going through. Oh, Lisa, she was my roommate a while back. Okay, so it's a personal thing. But like Aubrey Marcus, who's actually defrauding people, which I think he's hurting people. I don't mind calling out his bullshit. And Jeff and Shalea, I don't mind. They are mean people. They're taking advantage of people. Even Doreen Virtue. But if somebody's just starting out, I don't really want to call them out because they might be in a learning phase. The Align podcast. Let me look that Align podcast up. This one here. 3 days ago. Can we watch this? Let's watch this. Let's see what this is all about.
I am here with my beloved wife, Vailana, and with beloved Alana, who is a part of our relationship constellation.
Spiritual influencer Aubrey Marcus is facing huge backlash after revealing a polyamorous relationship with his wife, Vailana, and partner Alana Beal.
if you're in this type of relationship, but all that you experience is you have multiple lovers and your lovers don't have lovers, you're missing out on the most important part. Your girl is going to be bent over, back arched, laying it on them. You got to deal with that.
Do you feel like that is a more evolved approach at relationship?
It's a path.
This sounds like a deep dive. This looks like a deep dive. This looks like a deep dive. For real, this looks like a deep dive. But we'll watch the first part of it. How does that sound? But this looks like I'm gonna have to do a deep dive. We might do this next Saturday. But
way to deal with a primordial negative emotion.
Aubrey Marcus, thank you for being here.
Aaron Alexander, hello, friend.
Aubrey, what do you think it is about your public persona?
Hold on just a second. If you can't watch this, I understand.
Seems like people.
This sounds like a bunch of bullshit right off the bat. Like he's really, see, this is what you like me to do. I know this is what you like me to do. I know this is what you like me to do. Y'all manipulated me. Y'all manipulated me into doing this. You manipulated me. But I'll watch the beginning part of this. But this looks rich.
People almost love to hate some parts of the persona of Aubrey Marcus.
No, nobody loves to hate this man. Y'all manipulated me. Y'all are narcissists. Y'all are narcissists. You're abusers.
I live my life in a way that's according to my own rules. I mean, I'm really trying to live the freest existence possible. And it's not in alignment with a lot of cultural norms. But it also is expressing a type of freedom that I think people actually long for. I think people want to live free, not like me. It's not a copy. It's not an imitation. Everybody has their own unique version.
Look, I'm already
of
sucking
freedom,
on my
what
vape.
it looks like to be free and to live the life that they want to live. And I think I'm an example of someone who's doing that. You know, I'm doing exactly what I want to do. And I'm living exactly the way I want to live. And I think that may be confronting for some people.
I personally do not think it's confrontational at all. I don't think it's confrontational. I think that it's a common excuse for drug addicts to say that. I think that's an excuse that I've heard this excuse before. Merrick, didn't we hear this excuse? We hear this excuse a lot in drug addicts. Like, why does the way that I live my life bother you? Why are you bothered by me? If I can live the life that I want to live, and that's good. You can live your life the way that you want to live. But if you're creating suffering in your life and the lives of others, there you go. There you go. This is a deep dive, though, and I know that I'm probably going to have to do this as a deep dive, this particular episode. So we're going to leave this where he is. But this guy's really cute. He's really handsome. I'm going to have to look at this a little bit, but that looks like a deep dive. So I'll return to that for a deep dive. Now, Ricky says, Merrick says it's so common it's on substance abuse screening tools. Babe, why don't you and I deep dive that together? Why don't we deep dive that together? That looks like a deep dive video. Yeah. Maybe one evening. But let's look at the psychology of the shaman. Internalized. Is it here? Is it this one? Is it this one? Yeah, this is it. Let's watch this. Let's do some. So I'm talking about shamanism here. I'm not gonna let Aubrey. That's a deep dive. All right. So
the life way.
Yeah.
Of the shaman is nearly as old as human consciousness itself, predating the earliest recorded civilizations by thousands of years. Through the ages, the practice of shamanism has remained vital, adapting itself to the ways of all the world's cultures. The shaman lies at the very heart of some cultures, while living in the shadowy fringe of others. Nevertheless, a common thread seems to connect all shamans across the planet, an awakening to other orders of reality, the experience of ecstasy, and an opening of visionary realms form the essence of the shamanic mission. Shamanism is one of the oldest, if not the oldest system of healing known in the world. It forms the prototype from which many other forms of healing are derived, such as modern psychotherapy. The shamanic journey is an expression of the human condition, and despite the cultural differences around the world, the deepest structure appears to remain constant. They are archetypes, primordial images or instinctual patterns of behavior that we're all born with. The origin of shamanism in the Paleolithic period inevitably links it with the animal world of the hunt. The shaman became identified with the untamed creatures, which provided food, clothing, and even shelter.
This is really interesting because I can tell this to people all. Like my experience with it was, videos like this were not necessarily on YouTube at the time that I was being trained, but there was one shaman who really helped me out. I think her name was Raven, and there were several shamans that helped me during that time, but there weren't really videos like this out on YouTube at the time. So I'm glad that there are videos out here, but this is very on point.
Sought to become the masters of wild game and summoners of beasts. Animal sacrifice, bird shaman staffs, and animal costumes all play an important role. Each time a shaman succeeds in sharing in the animal mode of being, he re-establishes the situation that existed in mythical times, when the divorce between man and the animal world had not yet occurred. Arctic explorer Knud Rasmussen met with an Eskimo shaman who stated, "The greatest peril of life lies in the fact that human food consists entirely of souls. All the creatures that we have to kill and eat, all those we have to strike down and destroy to make clothes for ourselves, have souls. Souls that do not perish with the body, and which must therefore be pacified, lest they revenge themselves on us for taking their bodies." For the shaman, all that exists in the revealed...
I can see that. That makes sense, doesn't it? That when animals are killed, a shaman can help. But see, here's my shamanic view of that the animals know that they are food for humans, that the animals know that they are clothes, all that circle of life stuff, that the animals already know that. But I can also see, back then, them believing that or operating in that way, showing reverence for the animals that give their life for clothing and food and things like that. Absolutely. I used to think that meat eating, of course we're told that veganism is kind to animals, that even Dolores Cannon talks about that as well, but on a base level, we are the animals that we eat. We are the clothes that we wear. There's no separation or division, and that we're all just doing our part so to speak. Ricky says, love this definition. The shaman functions as a mediator between the human and the divine, giving meaning to human suffering. Yes, you are absolutely right. Absolutely right. I'm going to tell you what I know the purpose of suffering is to help us awaken. It's to help us awaken to our divine natures. And, you know, in order to get there, you have to suffer consciously. But the ego does not recognize suffering as suffering. So that's a little tough. Autumn says plants feel too. We just don't hear or speak their language. But let's examine that. Let's examine this suffering, because if the ego is what causes suffering, you know, we cannot put our egoic perspective on things. We just can't, and you know, we can't anthropomorphize animals or plants for that nature. And you know, there's the book Jurassic Park. You know, there's this I might chap some asses when I say this. I might piss some of you off. Okay? But that the earth is crying out, that we are damaging the earth, that we are hurting the earth through pollution, and that humans are very destructive, and that there's all these plastics in the ocean, and that things are very bad, and the earth is crying out. But consider this. What if everything was exactly the way that it needed to be, or that everything is exactly the way that it should be? It doesn't mean that we don't try to make things better. It doesn't mean that we don't try to be more conscious. But the earth is fine. The earth is going to be fine. Like, I think Jurassic Park, the book, is kind of a sacred text. If you've read Jurassic Park, the book, it's kind of a sacred text because it talks about how Earth is going to be fine. The Earth is going to be fine. What we're really trying to do here is to become more conscious and live in harmony with the world and with each other. That's what shamanism really is. For us to live in harmony, to try to alleviate suffering, but to think that like the ego, okay, thank you, spirits. Thank you. I get this. The ego's conception of pain is different than what pain actually is. No ego, no suffering. No ego, no pain. And so, you know, I'll reference when I thought I was going to die in that home invasion. They were threatening to do all these things to me, like pour acid on my face, cut off my arms, cut my hands off, tie me up, throw me downstairs, all this stuff. But the ego was gone. So I knew that it wasn't going to hurt. I knew that it wasn't going to cause me any pain, that I was just going to die and move on to the next place. So if I can perceive that outside of ego, there is no pain, there's just, this is what's happening. Couldn't we say that the plant would know that it's going to be, that, like, let's say the wheat is going to know that it's going to be made into bread, and it's like the purpose of the wheat is to grow to be made into bread. And if I had died that night, let me tell you, if I had died that night, without the ego, I knew that, well, my purpose was to live this life and then die in this way. That was the purpose of my life. I was like, well, this is how it is. You know, this is the end of Patrick. That this is where his life ends. I wasn't even really connected to it at all. It was just something that was happening. There wasn't any pain. There wasn't any suffering. I wasn't trying to get out of it. It was just, just a recognition that the story of me had come to an end. And could you think that let's look at a cow, maybe a cow who is going to be slaughtered. You know, we look at a cow being slaughtered and go, oh my God, that's so horrible. But what if, you know, the cow at that moment were to realize that it were to be slaughtered and then made into hamburger? What if that cow just got the vision of, you know, like, oh, I'm going to feed all these people. You know, so what if that was happening to every animal that became food? What if a tiger was taking down a gazelle, and at the moment that the tiger was taking down the gazelle went, oh, I'm gonna see. Like, what if that was going on in animals? Or in so when we look at things from an egoic perspective, you know, oh, those poor animals. What if and I'm not arguing for one way or another, don't get it twisted, but what if that was going on? What if that was happening? That if we're trying to save the animals, if we're trying to say you shouldn't eat meat, what if in doing that we were robbing those animals of like this profound spiritual vision? You know, like what if this, well, let me just talk about a cow. What if this cow, it got the vision of all the people it was going to feed, and it was flooded with gratitude? What if by not eating this cow, we were robbing it of this profound spiritual experience? And what if that cow were to get old and die, never having that spiritual experience, knowing that it was going to feed all of these people? You know, so I'm like, when we say that, you know, you have to be a vegan because of the poor animals, these poor animals, we don't want these poor animals to suffer. Why are we projecting suffering onto that? We're not in the head of those animals. We're looking at something. We don't know how those animals really feel, but a shaman might look at something like that and say, hold on, wait a minute. Why are you projecting suffering on that? And when I say that, I'm not arguing for us to eat and slaughter all the animals, but what if it wasn't what we thought it was? And I bring this up because if you had tried to save me in my addiction, you probably would have gotten me killed. You might have gotten me killed. And I had to say, if somebody had interrupted that home invasion for me, and it would have gotten me killed. I had to make my peace with the fact that I was really gonna die so that I could live. And so when we try to be Captain Save-A-Ho, especially for animals and stuff like that, you know, there's a reason why it's going on. Elizabeth says plants also release a chemical when they are out to prevent more damage or make them less edible. The scent of newly cut grass is a defense mechanism. And that's good to bring up. But, you know, we all are here temporarily. You know, this world is not necessarily real. And the ego will come up with all these strategies to make it seem like it's real. The ego will try to convince you that the body that we have is real. Y'all want to go there? Do y'all want to go there? Because the body is not real. The ego created the body. Oh gosh, you want to go hard? Let's go hard. The body is not even real. And, you know, in the video that I made yesterday about guilt, I talked about how guilt will make you sick. And then anytime somebody is sick, it's because the ego is trying to convince you that the body is real. People who have a lot of sex, they look at pornography and things like that. It's the ego trying to convince them that the body is real. So when you come to the realization that the body is not real, then animals are not real. Even the plants are not real. It's all imaginary. It's all imaginary. And so when we kind of start to project this kind of stuff onto here, it's just kind of a projection. Natalie says, if animals and plants are in a survival mode up until death, do they have egos? But how do we know that animals and plants are in survival mode up until death? How do we know? I know Eckhart has talked about animals just being present in the present moment. You know, but again, when we're projecting onto other creatures, when we're projecting onto other things, and I'm going real deep with this, you know, when we're projecting things like veganism and you know, the environment and the climate. And I've said this before on streams, but I had a boss that was a very evangelical Christian. She was so evangelical, you know, and they think that the earth is not that old and stuff like that. But she said, you know, why we don't have to worry about the climate because this world wasn't meant to last forever. And I'm like, damn. Hi, Jess. Jess says, I've seen my cat in spirit form. I know she's more than her physical. Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, if we're focused on the physical, what's going on in the spiritual? Doesn't it make sense that a cow, the divine essence of a cow, would know that it's going to be hamburgers? I mean, I'm just putting that out there. You know, there's something that, you know, you can talk about non-doership as well, that we're not even, I mean, these physical bodies don't even matter all that much at all. When we're worried about animals and the environment and all of that stuff, are we over emphasizing the physical world to a degree? Are we overemphasizing that? I think so. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that we pour. Hey, Merrick, are you listening? It doesn't mean that we change the oil in our vehicle and just let the oil run into the ground. Doesn't mean that either. Of course, you know, we do want to take care of it, even if it is an illusion. And I think they talk about that in A Course in Miracles. But to be overly concerned about it, you know, to be overly concerned about the environment or the animals or the plants or anything like that. Of course, you don't cause other people harm, because there, you know, this is a physical reality that would not exist without the spiritual reality. You know, kind of as above, so below. But as Merrick's in the den, but we don't. Yeah, you will change your own oil someday. But are we, when we're worried about that kind of stuff, are we overemphasizing the physical? Are we placing more on the physical? Like, if you don't want to eat the animals, then don't. And if you don't want to, but at the same time, I feel that the animals that become food know they're going to become food. Natalie says, I was reading the Spirits book by Alan Kardec. It seems they were saying they take on particles from the planets they enter, and that's why they have form we can see. Yeah, ghosts. Let's talk about ghosts just for a little bit here. That they form a body from the stuff in the air. Kind of. Have any of you out there read the book Servant of the Bones by Anne Rice? Have you read Servant of the Bones? And in Servant of the Anne either talked to actual spirits or read the Spirits book, because that's how ghosts appear. They take on particles. And I believe this, they can take on so many particles they can actually look like real alive people. Because what are we? We're just matter. We're just matter. And they can take, and then, I mean, what are they? The purse spirit, an envelope. And I've seen some ghosts that you could not tell the difference between a human being and them. And the only way that you could tell the difference is there's something in the eyes. The eyes are real hard to fake. The eyes are real hard for ghosts to fake. I know this to be true. I've seen footage. The eyes are real hard to fake. So when they form, it's like a covering. Like there's no meat in it. There's no muscles. You know, sometimes it might just be clothes, and you know, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. Let me watch a little bit more of this video.
The world has a living force within it. This is known as animism. This life force, or mana, is conceived of as a divine force which permeates all. Just as the human body is connected to the soul, so too are all living beings connected by the anima mundi, world soul. For the shamans, depression, emptiness, lack of energy, anxiety, apathy, etc. are referred to as loss of soul, one of the most feared illnesses in primitive civilizations. The word,
because the loss of soul would mean you would get sick. Natalie says, I also conjured a strange animal once using a spell. I was pretty young. It looked like a rat cat. Yeah, I can see you doing that, Natalie. How do you feel about conjuring spirits today, though? I wouldn't do it today. Personally, me, I wouldn't conjure spirits and stuff. But how do you feel about doing that today? How does anybody feel about doing it today? But you know, talking about that we're all connected. You know, let's take everybody hearing this right now. You guys wanted me. Y'all, you want to get your mind blown? Y'all want to get some minds blown today? Let's do it. So here I am at 53 years old. It is 11:43 on August 23rd, 2025. Everybody listening to my voice right now, we decided to all meet up today for me to do this live stream for you. This was decided long ago, before I was born, before you were born. Out of time. It was decided out of time. And everybody hearing my voice right now, you decided that you wanted to be right here, right now, to hear this, what I'm about to tell you. Are you ready for this? This could possibly blow your mind. So think about this. Think about every little fucking thing that had to line up exactly for you to hear what I'm about to tell you. Because I'm not here by an accident, and neither are you. And there are no accidents. There are accidents. There are no coincidences. But think about all the shit that had to line up perfectly for you to be able to hear this right now. I mean, I had to be born. Okay, you had to be born, and you had to go through all of your life experiences, and I had to go through all my life experiences, and Merrick had to go through his life experiences. So here we are. There's 14 people hearing this right now. Okay, so that is 14 births that had to happen. And then there's and you guys had to go through school or whatever you did. You may have been raised by wolves. I don't fucking know. But you had to go through all of your life experiences, and everything had to work out just so for you to be here right now, to hear this right now. I had to go through my shamanic initiation, awakening, and all that kind of stuff. That had to go off without a hitch, by the way. That couldn't there couldn't have been no mistakes in that for this to happen right now. It had to happen this way, and all this other thing, all these things had to happen. And so here we are, after all of those millions, if not trillions of tiny little things had to happen so you could hear this right now. Just so that we could talk on this live stream, all that we all agreed to be on outside of time. We all agreed, like we said, all right, here we are at 11:46 a.m. Central Standard Time you're going to be in Kentucky, Patrick, and we're going to be in our places all around the world. It's going to be on your guys' wedding anniversary, 8/23/2025. We're all going to get together again, and we're going to have this conversation. Do you realize how fucking connected we all are? Does that help you fucking realize how it not only how it all works, but how important you are, and that we're all connected, and we all decided this outside of time. And even if you're not consciously aware, I've been consciously aware of these things from time to time, but we've known each other for a long ass time. The last time, Jess was the shaman. Jess was the one that had to do it. And then another time, Natalie was. Then Ricky. Everybody has gotten a go at this. You know, for the 14 here out of this 15 people, everybody has had a go at this shit. It was my turn in this lifetime. So that's how connected we are. And we keep doing it. We keep finding new angles. We keep discovering new things. And Ricky says, when you believe all is an illusion, no past, no future, only the present, it changes a person. So is anybody out there getting really present right now? Are you starting to realize the implications of this thing? Yeah, Merrick says we're monks in a monastery, that we started meditating. It's the year 1500 something, and we're meditating. And that this world and this life is just a meditation of some monks in a monastery from 500 years ago. Thank you, Natalie. Happy anniversary. So just us 15 people that are hearing this. So if we decided to do it like this, imagine that there are other people. Every live stream that you listen to, from every YouTube video you watched, you were like, okay, this person is going to make this YouTube video and I'm going to watch it at this particular time. Every TV show you like, every book you've read, you made a pact with the author of that book to read that book. So you helped write it all. Okay, so I'm gonna end this stream at noon. I'm gonna do this for 2 hours, and I'm gonna at 12 o'clock I'm gonna eat lunch, and then Merrick and I are gonna play some Dead Island for our anniversary. So for the last part of this, I'm I don't want to, I could see it's hard for me to watch stuff like this because I can riff on it.
But primitive is not used to refer to an obsolete or superstitious way of life as it may be used today. Far from it. In fact, primitive people have a much deeper contact with nature and the unconscious, which modern people generally lack. If not balanced, this one-sidedness often results in neurosis and psychic dissociation.
And that's kind of what I was talking about. You know, the balance. You realize that there is a physical reality, but you also realize that there's a non-physical reality as well. So let's say you're overly concerned about this physical reality, and you forget that there is a spiritual reality. And I think that's what shamans help people do. Shamans help people realize not to take this fucking shit all that seriously. Don't take this shit all fucking seriously. It's not that big of a deal. But it is kind of a big deal, but it's not that big of a deal. It is a big deal, but it's not a big deal. Don't worry about the animals. They're fine. Don't worry about the earth. Let the earth worry about itself. What are you going to worry about? What can you be concerned with today? You know, before I end this stream today, I want you to come away with this. What do you think you could be concerned about today that would benefit you? Because you know I like to talk about how if you want to make the world a better place, you can make the world a better place. You can make the world a better place. And you can make your world a better place. And that's really all you can do. It's humbling. It calms the ego down. And it's profound. And you realize how truly powerful you are. You guys have heard me say this before, that it's really hard to fuck up your life. It's really hard to be homeless. Like, you have to have a lot of energy to completely screw up your well-being. You live in a state of well-being. You live in a state of joy. You live in a state of peace. You live in a state of happiness. And as long as you don't interfere with that, you're fine. You won't be homeless. You won't be without a home. Merrick and I were talking about squatters' rights earlier because we were watching some video about this man getting rid of a squatter. But you come into this world in a state of well-being. Like, think about how you were raised as a baby. You know, babies are powerful. Babies are so powerful. You know, when you worry about the children are fine. The children are fine. The children are so powerful. Babies are so powerful that they can come into this world, be cared for. Hey, any of you out there who are mothers or fathers, isn't it wild that you had a baby and you cared for that baby? I talked to a new mother not so long ago, and she said, it's like my baby is controlling my mind. It's like my baby has mind control. And they do. They do. So as I end this stream today, I want you guys to just realize how powerful you are. And as babies, you were really powerful. We were very powerful as babies. We managed to get fed and we chose our families. We chose our parents. That's how powerful we are. And so step into your power today. Why don't you just step into your power and realize you run this shit? Not from an ego-based perspective, but in a way that works with everybody else. Ricky says, every time I act outside of morality, here comes the shit. Yeah. For real. You know, I know Natalie is reading that. Who else here has read the Spirits book, or who has read the Spirits book, or is reading the Spirits book? You know, you realize that, you know, when you spiritually awaken, you don't want to hurt people anymore. because when you know, you know. When you know, you know. And you just don't want to hurt people anymore. But I do want to, I'm going to make a video about apologizing to members of my family and Merrick's family, because I had a realization about all of that today. I had a fucking boom. I was revealed stuff. And so I am going to make a video about that, cleaning that up, an episode about truly forgiving, because man, they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know. They had no clue what they were doing. So as I end this stream, I love you guys so very much. I love you guys so much. You guys are, by being members and supporting and buying books and all that stuff, you are saving my life. You're saving my life. You're making it, so that I can continue to do this. I appreciate it so much. I know Merrick appreciates it. My spirit helpers appreciate it. You guys are making a difference. And even just by listening and doing this stuff with us, you're making the world a better place. So I'm going to leave you today. I'm going to leave you with the next song from our album. I'm gonna play a song out so you all can say your goodbyes to each other, and we're not doing live streams in the mornings for the next week. I missed it this morning. Oh, we did kind of miss it this morning. I don't know if you guys did, but probably next Saturday I might do a live deep dive. But I love you guys so much. I'm gonna get out of your hair. Please go have a wonderful day. Please go and do something nice for yourself. All right? I love you. Bye-bye.